Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, and I am back for another quick channel update. But I also wanted to do my main topic for today's video is my first early impressions of the Ally Solos glasses. They just started shipping to people within the last week and a half or so. I got mine last week, and I've been playing with them off and on for about a week. This isn't going to be a full hardware review necessarily, but for people who are interested in, if you haven't purchased them already and you are considering it, I hope that, this video will be helpful for you. Before we get into that, though, I do want to give a few quick channel updates and such. So this is actually my second take on this video because, lo and behold, in the middle of recording this a little bit ago, we had a nice little smoke alarm go off, and so we had to go run outside and wait for a while the fire department checked out what it was. And apparently somebody had overflowed or had overloaded the washing machine, and a belt was none too happy about that and started smoking and such. So yeah, that was a fun, unexpected diversion. Anyway, we're back at it for round 2 here. And, if you are new to the channel, welcome. Very much appreciated. If you have been following the channel for, 5 minutes, 5 years, 10 years or more, I've been doing this since 2012, believe it or not. Again, thank you for your support. It is very much appreciated. I've received some, really nice emails and comments and a few questions here and there that I've been trying to answer from people. So I'm glad people are finding the channel helpful, informative, entertaining, whatever you take from it. If you are new to the channel, I do unlock videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, sometimes more frequently. Like we just had a week of bonus videos pretty much as we ramped up to Halloween. I had a playthrough of Butcher's Creek. It's a fun little first-person melee combat game where you're fighting these kind of cultists that have some really sick and twisted thoughts and beliefs, and they need to be taken down. And so if you're still into some scary or kind of a spooky, disturbing games, definitely check that out. And again, I use Be My Eyes in that video to read a lot of the notes and journal entries, so you do get the full story as well. So you get to see how sick and twisted these crazy people that I was taking down are. But like I said, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, sometimes I have more bonus videos if there's something really interesting or noteworthy happening that I really want to talk about or cover. This will more than likely be a bonus video in the next day or two because there's just so many. It's funny, the last month or month and a half, I remember saying that I was considering cutting back to 2 days for releasing videos every week because I was kind of my backlog of videos were kind of catching up, and I want to, maintain a steady schedule for everybody. But again, October was just, even September, but especially October was just absolutely nuts with new game releases, indie, AAA, couple of iOS accessible things that I haven't quite gotten around to recording a video for, but yeah, I played a little bit of everything, and there's so many things even on my backlog that I've started and I want to get back to. There are games that I bought that I still haven't gotten around to. I really one of those is I want to get around to playing the full version of that Shinobi Art of Vengeance, where I covered the demo of that one because I enjoyed what I played of that. I want to play the full thing of that. But yeah, I mean, even AAA, I did the video for Ninja Gaiden 4. I started Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. I started The Outer Worlds 2. Both of those are first-person RPGs of sorts, so who knows when I'm going to find time to polish off those suckers. But like loads and loads of indie games, like they're like, it's so funny the people that just keep saying, "Oh, gaming is dead and there's nothing good to play and blah blah blah. It's all the same sequels and whatever." Yeah, in a way, the AAA market, that is sort of true, but clearly you're not looking hard enough because there are so many great things in the indie and smaller game space. Um, just so many things, so much variety and so much creativity that I'm never running out of things to play, let alone finish. Also, be sure to check out the playlist section of the channel because I do have playlists for everything is divided into playlists. So I have low vision games that I play with my remaining vision. I have playlists for blind accessible games, PC, console, that kind of a thing. I have hardware reviews, assistive technology videos, a whole video playlist for the Tobii Accessibility mod. I have, the Growing Up Illegally Cited playlist. Um, that one I'm proud of and hope people check out more. I've got some geeky collectibles, a few Let's Plays here and there. But again, VR, some virtual reality content, game accessibility, VR accessibility playlists. You name it, there's a lot of different playlists. So hopefully you'll find something of interest. And, maybe you'll want to have a reason to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. So yeah, that is just kind of a quick update. I have lots of videos recorded already. And it's so funny because again, like there's been so many games like, oh God, I would love to just cover this and release the video out right away. But I want to, again, keep on my, on my regular schedule for the most part. And so you guys are just gonna have to wait for my reviews and or my spotlight videos for many of these indie games that I've been very, very hooked on. Things like, I don't know, Ball Pit, Ball X Pit, or Megabonk, or Power Wash Simulator 2, or just any number of things that I played. There is Absalom, which is a run-based beat 'em up that I've just started this last weekend, and that's a really good one I want to get back to. God, I haven't even tried the full version of Hades 2 yet. It's just ridiculous. Like I said, there's so many games. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be near as many that are blind accessible this year, and that is very disappointing. It is very frustrating. I was genuinely hoping that Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection would have some menu narration. Now, again, keep in mind, as I said in the video the other day, this is not NetherRealm, this is Digital Eclipse, and they do excellent work for preserving gaming history and doing the documentary thing and pretty accurate ports of things. But again, they aren't using the same engines or the same tools as one would use for Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat 1. And so yeah, we're bringing back all these classic games, Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, 4, trilogy, any number, all these different ports of them, arcade and consoles. Um, I think that they could still patch in some menu narration for, the main navigation of the game interface, when you're selecting games and setting options and things, maybe even looking at the move list, that could be really helpful. I don't know if they really plan on doing it. Like I said in the MK Legacy video, that I know, again, huge shout out to Rattlehead, who was at EVO this year, the fighting game tournament, and he reached out to them to say, hey, would you guys add accessibility to this? And they kind of just seemed rather meh at best and didn't seem like it was really much of a high priority, at least for now. So as I said in that video before, if you're interested in playing it, reach out to them via email or social media. I've been reposting and tweeting. I've tweeted to them on Twitter. People that I've seen really posts from some of the developers, and I asked them, hey, check out Rattlehead's video, check out my video. Blind people would love to play these better. But yeah, there just really hasn't been, especially PC, console, AAA, even PC indie games, not much really there. There's been a couple iOS games that are voiceover accessible, and those are cool. But again, nothing on a console PC level that I really know of. So that's really disappointing. But hopefully things will get better. I hope. Because there are plenty of us that are still advocating. I mean, I know the industry kind of tends to zero in on a few key people. We lost Brandon last year, unfortunately, Super Blind Man, and he did a lot for the gaming industry, or blind game accessibility in particular. But we do have others. I mean, there's a few people that developers seem to kind of look to, but like I said, there are many more of us, and so I hope they realize that and reach out to the rest of us that are still here and are actively, advocating and fighting for game accessibility. But yeah, so stay tuned. I have plenty of game videos coming out, plenty more to record, several of them already recorded, and yeah, so there'll be a lot to look forward to there. Not sure what my holiday schedule is going to be. Haven't fully decided on what's going to happen with all that yet. Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays, all that kind of a thing. So who knows? Those are some channel updates. Like as far as other like gaming and industry or accessibility stuff, we have the new Freedom Scientific products. They came out with the 2026 versions within the last week or so. And I don't know, I have mixed feelings on it. I mean, yeah, they have the new AI things and a few features, but, and if you're a home user, it's not really so bad. But they're adding this new requirement in for you're going to have to now have a username and password, regardless whether you have an annual subscription or your traditional SMA license. You have to have a user account for their portal. And that's even to really, it's like another step to activating JAWS or ZoomText or Fusion. And again, for some of the stuff that they're wanting to do, like synchronized settings and stuff, I can kind of see that. But especially through my day job, like where we set up computers for other people, it's already kind of a pain in the ass where like when you have to activate, and if they're on a yearly subscription, it's just not fun. Like it used to be so nice. You just copy and paste the 20-digit serial number or activation code in, and you got it. You're done. You activate it. Simple as can be. But now it's just, not looking forward to all the shenanigans that's going to cause. I have not heard anything. If anyone else has had direct communication with them or has any shipping information, I have not heard anything from Agiga yet, the EchoVision glasses folks. So theoretically, they were saying that they were going to start shipping the Pioneer editions to people at the end of October, but I haven't heard anything as far as like, I pre-ordered pretty early on, so I would think that I would be pretty high up in the queue, but like nobody I know who pre-ordered them has heard really anything. So I don't know if and when we're going to start rolling, they're going to start rolling those out, and we'll be able to take a look at those. Very intrigued to see what they're going to be like. But I can't think of too much else as far as life updates, channel updates. I mean, things are still, kicking along pretty busy. So many games I want to play, so many other things I want to do. Just trying to find the time for it all. But the main topic where I want to wrap up this video, the main topic I want to talk about is I want to give my first thoughts and impressions of the Ally Solos glasses from Envision. I've covered the Ally app in the past a couple of times. I covered an early beta of it when it was called the Envision Assistant, and then they switched it over to being Ally. I did a kind of a sneak preview of that around Christmas last year, and then I did the full kind of spotlight video for it early this year. So the Solos glasses there's a mainstream version of the Solos glasses that you don't want to buy. They have their own AI that they're using, but they've added custom firmware to the Ally Solos version, and so it works directly with the Ally app. And so instead of using your phone, you can use the glasses. So I have this web page, the YouTube channel up right now, but I'm going to switch over to my camera app here. And so I just want to show you a couple of different things. Where did I put the darn case for them? Oh, they're over here. Okay. So yeah, the Ally Solos glasses are starting to ship. I got mine last week on, I believe it was Tuesday, and I've played with them a little bit last week, a little more this week. And I really have mixed feelings on these so far. So I've covered the Meta Ray-Bans on this channel shortly after they came out, but I will say in the year or so, the year and a half now that I've had them, they have really improved, both with like describing things and especially reading things. Meta, they can still hallucinate a little bit, and they can still, describe things incorrectly or pull things out of thin air, and I don't know where it comes up with some of its descriptions, but overall it has gotten quite a bit better. The Solos glasses, so I'm wearing them right now. I switched over to my camera here, and they look like just regular glasses. If you've seen the Envision glasses, they were based off of the Google Glass, and those were really clunky and uncomfortable. I did not like those. I got to use them through work a little bit, and again, they were neat, but like the right side was so like it was this big chonky piece, and then they didn't even look like the lenses on the front. They're just like this weird little little screen thing, and they just weren't very comfortable, and they were kind of slow. But yeah, now we have ones that look, if you didn't know any better, they're a little thicker, but they look just like a regular pair of glasses, and they come in a clear frame, or they come in a clear lens, I should say. If you want to get like prescription lenses, or you want to get, let's say, sunglasses or transition lenses, you can, but you have to do that through your local optometrist or whatever. You don't get those through Envision. The glasses themselves are pretty decent. They do come in their little case here. It's a little bit different than the Meta case that you would be used to. This is not a charging case. It does not charge the glasses. I'll talk about charging in a minute. But yeah, right now, like it's just the little flap here, it unfolds. And when they come in the box, it's actually, let me flip these down, and it comes in this, like, it looks all flat. Like it's just like a little flat, almost looks like the thickness of, let's say, like a checkbook or something like that. So when you're wearing the glasses, maybe you just want to stuff them in a pocket or whatever, it would be pretty easy to do that. That's kind of nice. And you unfold it. I kind of compare it to like origami almost. It kind of feels like you're, the way you're doing it, you pull out the side pieces and you flip it out, and then you have your triangle again. You got your case. So that is the case. It's not bad. The glasses themselves are, like I said, clear lenses. I think they have a couple different color frames. I forget what colors they have, but the build quality seems okay. I think I like the Meta design a little better. I think they seem a little bit more sturdy. I will say that the speakers and the microphone in the solos do not seem near as good as the Meta Ray-Bans, even the first generation Ray-Bans. They're not quite as loud and they're a bit tinnier. They have a tinny sound to them. And so I'm wondering, if you're you're trying to use these things, let's say for like a GPS navigation, you're out and about and you're trying to hear directions, or you're trying to hear something on a crowd in a busy street or a busy room. I think that could be kind of a little bit of a problem, because they just aren't. They can get kind of loud actually, but I don't know. There's just something with the sound of them. They're just not quite as good. But they do work. They work well enough. The microphone, the reason I talk about the microphone is because I've had, and it seems to be on a session by session basis, and I don't know what the deal is, but sometimes the microphone seems to work beautifully. It understands what I say. It'll answer my questions or do what I ask it, and it seems fine. And then there are other sessions where I'll start a session where I don't know what it thinks it's hearing, but like it'll say, well, I don't understand what you mean by blah, 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 blah. And it just says like nonsense. I'm like, I don't even know how you heard whatever you thought you heard. Like that wasn't even close to what I said. And I think part of it is I have to wonder if, how, like, if you're using a lot of Bluetooth headsets, especially ones that have support for Bluetooth low energy, where if you're not playing media or you're not using the microphone, the headset will kind of go into a quick sleep mode. And then when you want to talk again, you notice that like if you want to do a dictation or something when you're entering text, or maybe you're, whatever it is you're doing that uses the microphone, you have to kind of wait like an extra second or two before the microphone gets fully activated. And I think that might be what's happening here. And so sometimes it almost seems like it'll turn the microphone off while I'm listening to Ally's response. And then when I go to talk again, it cuts off the first couple of words because the microphone is in the process of waking up. So really what should be happening, if I'm on a voice, and I have made voice phone calls with this, and one of my coworkers, he's in addition to his day job with, as a technology specialist, he's done a lot of audio production work and audio mixing and things like that. So he's a, big audiophile. And even he noticed that when I was talking to him, like the first part, I would listen to him talking. And then when I started speaking, the first couple words would be cut off. And even if I were to pause, let's say mid-phrase, while I was thinking of what to say next, it again would kind of cut out and then he wouldn't hear. So really and I don't know if Ally can have any control over this. I don't know if this is just a set thing from the Solo hardware, or if it's something that Ally can force, but like when you're on an Ally call, or you're on a phone call, or you're on a Zoom or a Teams meeting call, your microphone, as long as you don't have the app muted, like you don't have Ally muted, or you don't have Zoom muted, or whatever, your microphone should always be live during that call, so that if we're having a two-way conversation, we can interrupt each other, or like even if we're, taking turns talking, part of your phrasing doesn't get cut off, and that seems to be a problem, both when using Ally and both when making phone calls. So that is problematic. So the glasses themselves, they have a camera on the side, and then on the other side they have a light, just like the Ray-Bans pretty much. And then on the right-hand side, they have it's not an actual physical button, but it's like a touch-sensitive thingy, and it's got a bump on it. And that is kind of you hold down on that, and it's like a power on, power off thing. And the first time that when you set it up, you hold it for a little bit longer, and eventually it will say, pairing mode active, or I forget the exact phrasing, but it'll allow you to pair with your phone. And then right behind that little button thing, there's a little, like an indented part right here where my finger is. I don't know if you can see that, but like that is your touchpad that you can tap, you can double tap, triple tap, and you can swipe forward and backward to adjust the volume. Interestingly, it is just the opposite of the metas. So, you swipe forward to make it louder on the metas and then backward to quiet, to turn it down. It's just the opposite for these, which definitely still takes getting used to. And I found the touchpad to be a bit less consistent. I really don't have a problem with the Meta glasses. Sometimes I can do these perfectly fine, and sometimes again, consistency is a thing with these glasses. Sometimes they work great, and sometimes it's like the touch gesture or the touch pad just doesn't seem quite as consistently responsive the way that I would want it to be. Now, again, you can go into the Ally app once the glasses are paired, and you can adjust the sensitivity of it. And I have played with that a little bit, and I found like the default value I think is like 11. I've tried it at a much higher rate or a higher number, and I've tried it at a lower number, and right now I think I have it at like 2, and that's generally worked pretty well. But I think that's, again, if you have long hair, or if you are, we're getting to be the fall winter season here where I live. And so, if I'm wearing a cap and something brushes against it, it's going to do a lot more false positive. So you don't want that either. So again, it's something that you're going to have to fiddle with to figure out how you want the sensitivity. The setup process was pretty straightforward. I didn't have any problem with it. I know a lot of people on the Android side seem to have a lot more problem with it. iOS users, I don't know if people had, I follow some of the Slack conversations for the Ally betas and whatnot. But I know a couple of people personally who have Android, and they had a lot more trouble than I did. I mean, literally, the only problem that I had is when I got these, it was coincidentally the same day that our apartment complex they had cut our power for much of the day. And so as I was setting these up, I was waiting for my router to fully kick back in and have full internet. And so the first time I tried it, it didn't seem to quite be fully there yet. So it gave me an error. But then when I made sure that the router was fully up, really didn't have a problem. The first thing it'll ask you to do is it'll tell you to go to your settings app and just pair it like you would any other Bluetooth device. You do that, and it worked, and then you go back to the Ally app, and then when it's paired with the phone, it'll pair with the app itself. And once that is done, you'll get kind of a few screens of like kind of a tutorial. It'll give you a few gestures to practice. It'll tell you like, oh, this is how you invoke Ally. This is how you adjust the volume. This is how you hang up an Ally call, and one or two other things. And so that wasn't too bad. So I really didn't have too much trouble with the onboarding process. But once we get into using, once it's all up and running, there are a few things that I think really need to be addressed. Because these glasses have potential. Again, they don't have as good a sound. I'm not quite sure about their microphone. But the other interesting thing is I found out from a friend of mine who also pre-ordered these around the same time these were coming out, and I didn't pay attention. I didn't know. Again, these are based off of the Solos glasses that the original manufacturer makes. And so there's a newer version, a newer model of the mainstream Solos glasses that came out kind of around the same time that these Ally versions did. And so, I know that, Envision, when they choose a pair of glasses, these have been in development for a long time, and they're designing to a certain spec. So I know at some point you kind of have to cut it off. But like, part of me wonders, like, God, would these work a lot better if they use the newer generation of these Solos glasses? Maybe the mic is a little better, cameras are probably a little better, maybe the touchpad is a little better, more consistent. I don't know. But I thought it was pretty interesting that literally there's a new model of these Solos glasses, and Allies are using the original Generation 1 version of these. So I don't know. But yeah, after pairing, and you want to use the app, again, if you have used the Ally app on your Android phone or your iPhone, you kind of know what to expect, because literally you're doing the same exact thing. You're just doing it with the glasses. And so the first problem that I have, and I don't know if it's supposed to work this way, but in my experience, this is what I've had to do to get it to work. When I want to use and make a call to Ally, it doesn't seem to work unless I have my phone unlocked and I literally have the Ally app on and in focus. It's up on the screen. The Meta glasses, what I like about them is that as long as you have the Meta AI app open, you can have it buried in your app switcher. You can have the screen locked, but as long as Meta AI is running, it's somehow in the background, the glasses will find it, and it'll communicate with it, and it'll work. Sometimes it takes a little longer for the initial connection to be established, but it does work. But I have never really gotten an Ally AI call to really work unless the phone has been unlocked and it has been like the app itself is in focus, which to me defeats the purpose of doing things with the glasses, because the whole point to me is that I can leave my phone in my pocket as long as I have Ally just hanging out in the background in the app switcher somewhere. The glasses should be able to find it and, make that connection to Ally. But if I got to take out my phone and have it activated anyway, well, I may as well just use my phone. And I'm guessing that's probably not the way it's supposed to work. I'm going to double check on the Slack. I'm going to be posting a couple messages probably tomorrow when I get a chance, with some of these same thoughts and things. But like I said, it's really weird because that's the only way I've gotten Ally to work so far. And then, so when you have it on and you want to initiate a call with Ally, you double tap on the touchpad. And sometimes I hear the tones. There's a couple of tones that will tell me that it's establishing a connection to Ally. But sometimes I don't hear that, and I have to kind of wonder and I think that maybe that is like, again, if I don't have the app in focus and it just doesn't do anything. So that could be it too. But I think if the app is, again, my phone is unlocked and the app is in focus, I generally do tend to hear the sound effects a bit more often or a bit more consistently. So, like I said, I think that has to change for these to really be effective. But you double tap to start a call, and then you'll hear it say, "Hey, what's going on?" or whatever it says, to greet you. And by default, when I first got the glasses, it would always default to the walkie-talkie mode, where then you would hold down the touchpad, and then while you held it down, you would speak your question or your comment, and then you would let go and listen to it. And some people are still going to want to use it that way. There are still times where I might want to use it that way. But I generally like the idea of having just the live conversation view, or not view, but the live conversation mode. And now with the recent update this past weekend, they do allow that. So I have mine currently set to be a live conversation when I start Ally. And when you're on a call, you can tap the touchpad to unmute or mute your microphone, which is also a welcome thing. So that is good. And then to end an Ally call, you triple tap the touchpad. All of that is fine. The problem with ending a call is even on the glasses or even on the app if you're not using the glasses. So when you end a conversation with Ally, you end a session, it will always ask you, hey, was this conversation helpful? Yes or no? And on the phone, sure, okay, that's fine. But on the glasses, I don't ever want that to come up because the problem is, let's say I have a 5-minute conversation with Ally and I do my thing and then I end the conversation. Well, now the little yes or no box is up there and I just, lock my phone, I set it and forget it. And then 20 minutes later, I want to do a new conversation with Ally. Well, it doesn't seem to work if I double tap to try to start another call. I can't because it's still fixated on that dialogue. So until I'm actually back at the main screen with your home screen with all your options, your call and your message and your whatever shortcuts you have on your home screen of Ally. I think that little dialogue needs to kind of go away so that combine that with being able to just, not unlock your phone, keep your phone in your pocket, initiate Ally, and then stop a conversation, and then whenever you want to, just start another conversation and have that consistently work. And as I said, on top of that, whenever I'm on a phone call, whenever I'm on an Ally call, the microphone should not go into like a quick sleep mode, because that's where I think Ally is misunderstanding and mishearing you. Maybe the microphone isn't as bad as I think it is, but maybe it's just turning itself off too frequently. As my friend said, it should be in a full duplex mode where it can, you're hearing and you can speak during a call with no problem. So there's that. When you're having just a regular voice conversation and you're talking back and forth to it, when you're talking, either in live conversation mode or even walkie-talkie mode, it generally responds pretty quickly and it's fine. But another area I think they really need improvement on is when using the camera. And that's what, if you're going to buy a pair of these glasses, that is what blind and low vision users are wanting these for. Yes, talking with your allies and stuff is cool, but you could just as easily do that with the phone. The potential advantage to this is that I can just look at something and ask it to read it, or I can look at something and ask it to describe it. And it does these things, but compared to other apps, Seeing AI, Be My Eyes, and even the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, especially where they currently are now, they are ridiculously slow. I don't want to say that. I hate to say that, but they are. I just want to be truthful. I'll talk about a little bit of a experiment that my coworker and I did this morning in a little bit. But so when you ask it and you want it to, describe a scene, what am I looking at? That isn't so bad. It's still a little slow, but basically you say, hey, what am I looking at? Or something like that. And, it'll say, okay, hold the camera steady, and then you'll hear the shutter sound, and then you wait, and you wait a little bit, and then you'll hear it describe whatever it is you're looking at. Reading, on the other hand, that is what takes a long time. So if you're in a situation where you have to read things quickly, or you have to recognize things, pretty quickly, these currently are not going to do super well with that. So when I ask it to read a document, it'll be like, sure, let me take a look. Hold the camera steady. So it'll do its little quick little cutesy blurb, and then you'll hear the camera shutter sound, and then you wait, and then you wait, and then you wait, and then it'll say something like, oh, okay, I have the image, now I'm going to process it. Hold on. And then you wait, and then you wait some more, and you wait, and then eventually you'll hear it start to read the document. And when it does read the document, it seems to do a pretty good job. So accuracy seems to be okay, but the speed of it is pretty slow. And I purposely kind of said, the way worded that, and you wait, that's kind of how long it takes, anywhere between like 20, 30 seconds in my experience. And I'm on a good internet connection. So that is interesting. One thing that I do like that is sort of interesting what Ally does when it reads a document, and again, these things you can experiment with. Go download the Ally app for Android or iOS and play with it on your phone, because you'll see a lot of how these experiments work just using the app on your phone. But what's kind of neat is when you read a document, let's say that's a combination of text and some pictures or graphics, you can have it where, like, as it's reading, it'll start reading the text, and then let's say in the middle of the page there's a graphic. It'll kind of make note that, oh, hey, there's a graphic here, and the description for the graphic is blah blah blah, and it'll start describing the graphic, and then when it's done, it'll say like end of description, and then it'll continue reading. It'll continue reading the text. So it's kind of neat how it does that. So like I said, there's some neat stuff there. But when you compare it to, like, if I just want to quick read something, and especially if I want to read, several pages of something, it's going to take a lot more time. I mean, so literally today, I brought both my Meta glasses and I brought these in. Coworker wanted to see them. And we played with them for a while today. And, again, I told you the experience. That was my experience with trying to recognize and trying to read text with these Solos glasses. And so then I'd put the Meta Ray-Bans on. And again, it's gotten a lot better. All I had to do was say, hey, Meta, read this text. And if you use that wording, literally read this text, that seems to queue up of saying, hey, I want you to read this document top to bottom. And it did a phenomenal job. It read it straight through. And literally when I said, hey, Meta, read this text, within 2 seconds tops, maybe even slightly faster, it was already reading. So I was, again, I hadn't played with that particular feature in a while, and I was pretty impressed. So I tried that a few different times with the Solos glasses. I tried it a few different times with the Meta. And again, to be perfectly honest with you, these Solos kind of got their butt kicked by the Ray-Bans. The accuracy on both were good, but I mean, as fast as the Metas did them, they were exponentially faster. It was almost real time, almost. So, there's that. The other problem that I have, and maybe it's just I have to figure out the exact wording. And that's why this isn't a full review. But again, I want to give you my really honest first thoughts and impressions. Is that let's say that I read a document, I read a page. Okay, and I've read enough of it. I don't care anymore. Let's move on and let's read something else. I have a bit of a problem consistently getting it, and this is any AI, because Meta has this problem to some degree, and any sort of real-time AI has this sort of issue. But literally with Meta AI, you can say, instead of saying, what does this text say, or read this document, and then if it just fixates on what you're already looking at, if you say, look, read this document. And if you have that look in there, it goes, oh, okay, you want me to take another picture. And in the solos, I was, had a few different pieces of mail or a few different documents I was trying to read. So I'm like, oh, I figured out what the first one is, done with it, don't care. I want to move on. And so I was trying to say, okay, take a picture and read this document. And it would just still fixate on the document that it already took a picture of and it analyzed. Sometimes there are times where I want to ask it follow-up questions. Maybe I have a restaurant menu and I want to ask it, different questions about, appetizers or entrees or whatever. If I'm looking at a bill or a letter, maybe I want to ask it about contact information, email addresses, phone numbers that it might see, or what was that thing about the due date for whatever. So there are times where I do want to ask follow-up questions, but I've kind of had trouble getting it to move on, and just like I don't know exactly what to say in order to move on and instantly take a picture and move on to the next document. And, I'm trying to fight with it. It wants to continue giving me information about it, what it just captured, and I want it to do, I want to move on. So, I would say, if my first impressions are, if you really, really like Ally and you want them in glasses form, these might be worth picking up. If you are interested in, getting the glasses and really kind of getting on their Slack channel and providing feedback and ideas and testing and, thoroughly reporting things, you might want to try these glasses. Because again, all of my potential complaints, all of my kind of wish list items are things that I think really could be updated with firmware and with software app updates. So, again, all of these things I think can be addressed. But again, sometimes it's the touchpad consistency, finding the right, dialing in the right sensitivity for it. But then, again, I end a conversation and then I wait a little while and I want to start another conversation. And again, I don't think this should be the case, but like I said, the only way that I've gotten it to work is to literally have my phone open and the Ally app on the screen. So I want to have my phone in my pocket locked. And as long as Ally is running in the background, when I put on the glasses, I want them to work. And so again, sometimes the microphone is really screwy and it does not understand me worth a dang. And again, I wonder, even during a live phone call with somebody, I think it's something to do with like the microphone just kind of goes to sleep, and so it doesn't hear the full thing and it gets confused. And other people on a phone call can't hear me. So there's something that needs to be done there. And really, I think it's really, when you're talking about, the live conversation stuff works decently well enough, but anything we're using the cameras, and I know they're shooting, they say, yes, they were shooting for accuracy, and accuracy is absolutely the most important thing. But I do think it's significantly slower than pretty much most other things that I've used, apps and things. And like I said, the Meta glasses are surprisingly very fast. So, the other thing that I forgot to mention when I was talking about the hardware of the glasses, there are a couple of ways to charge these things. So again, I said the case does not charge the glasses. Instead, they do come with a little magnetic cable. On one end, it's a USB-A port or A cord. And on the other end, it's like this little goofy magnetic thing. It's similar to like my AfterShokz cable. They've got a little magnetic thing, but that thing attaches perfectly well, and you know exactly when it makes a connection, and it works like every time. I found the magnetic connector to be quite a bit sketchy in this so far. I've tried charging it a couple of times. Yesterday I had it on overnight because I knew I was going to bring it to the office. And I thought I had it. It seemed fairly secure. It seemed to magnetically connect. So what they do is on the inside of the glasses, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but on the inside, right behind the, like where your glasses frames are, there's this little kind of bump piece. It's kind of rectangular, and there's one on both sides, and you can attach, that's where you attach the magnetic charger. But even when it feels like it is connected pretty well, like it still sort of wobbles, and I'm not quite sure that it made the connection. And in last night's case, especially, I was pretty dang sure I had it connected properly. And I come to use it this morning, finding out that it was still at 33% charge. So it did not charge the glasses the way they were supposed to. That there's another way to charge these. And again, I don't want to keep taking these on and off to do so, because I wonder if the connection will eventually kind of weaken. But each one of these glasses arms here, what I can do is about like, so like right here, there's a little, you can see there's like a little line here, and I can I can literally pull these arms off. And when you get them, the left arm will be off. You have to attach it. But on the end of the arm, there's a female port, a USB-C port, and you just plug a USB-C cable into these things, into the arm, and you can charge each arm that way. Both arms do come off. I just pulled off the left one, so I put it back on, and you really got to make sure you got to put it on there pretty well. But I can literally take the right-hand side one, and I can, come on, there we go, we can pull it off. And so what's cool is you could, if you wanted to, you could buy replacement or extra arms, and then you could, the right one is a little bit harder to, I found, to put on and off. It's a little more cantankerous in my opinion, but so you can hot swap the arms, and because each arm has a battery in it, I have not used these, a super ton yet, because I've had so much consistency issues that I've been frustrated and haven't used these as much as I've wanted to. So I haven't really been able to evaluate the whole battery life of them. But I would suspect you're going to get a fair bit more battery life than you would the Meta Ray-Bans, because again, you have essentially two batteries. You have one on either side of your face. So there's that. I said I really have mixed feelings, because the hardware isn't as good as the Metas, but it's good enough. It works. I like how Ally works. I like having the different allies. You have your different personalities, and everything that applies to the Ally app applies to the glasses. But again, it's some of the weird reliability and inconsistency. Sometimes I can get a conversation started, sometimes I can't. Sometimes it understands me well, sometimes it doesn't. And then anytime I want to use a camera feature, it just seems so slow. It seems, honestly, it is quite slow. Especially when reading text. Like, again, it says it's cute little, oh, let me quick take a look, hold your camera steady. And then it does the camera shutter sound. And then you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and then it says, oh, I've taken the picture, let me quick analyze it. And then you wait some more, and you wait some more, and then eventually it'll read it. So I don't know if you need as many of the prompts. I don't know if you need as much of those cute languages, the little like, hey, yeah, we're trying to be human and whatever, but like, yes, you want accuracy, but you also want efficient, reliability too, where, I'm at work and I need to snap a picture of something and I need to read it quick. Um, just say, you say, take a picture, and you say, or read this document, and it'll say, hold steady, snap, and then it'll just start reading. You don't have that middle process in there. I hope that there's a way to speed that up. Um, because if they can significantly speed this up, and, again, some of the other quirks with needing the app in focus and like ending a conversation and starting a new conversation, some of these things, I just, again, I think all of these things could potentially be fixed in app and firmware updates, but right now it's more frustrating and there's a clunkiness to it that just makes me want to, like, every time I start using them, I'm like, yeah, but I could just pull up my Ray-Bans or just open up an app on my phone and have it done in 2 seconds. Um, so that is my initial thoughts of the Solos glasses. If you, again, if you really are into Ally a lot and you want those in glasses form, maybe check them out. If you really want to be part of like feedback and everything, maybe check them out. But otherwise, I would kind of say you might want to hold off. Um, See how the app improves, see how the glasses and the speed and the reliability, the consistent, everything in the consistency, whether it's gestures or speed or, microphone reliability, um, all of those things. If that stuff becomes better, then sure. But right now, I don't know that I would recommend buying them. Um, you could get, again, there are drawbacks to the Ray-Bans. Um, but overall, I think the Ray-Bans are a little bit, for at least the way I use them, they're faster, they're cheaper. You don't have a yearly subscription. I mean, yes, you have an Ally free subscription as well, option, but you know, um, Meta is updating them pretty regularly, and I've had pretty good luck with them. So right now, I much prefer the Meta Ray-Bans. And again, if anyone has heard anything about progress for the Echo Visions, do leave a comment down below because I'm very curious to try those out. Even in their Pioneers form, I want to see how those compare. It's really fascinating to see, like all these different takes on how a mainstream company, how their AI handles things, and now we're having a couple of, specific blindness, specific tools, how they handle things. And again, there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Ally definitely does some cool things as far as the way it reads things, the way it integrates like picture descriptions in with the reading, being able to describe people and things. So there are things that Ally will do better that Meta seems to still like it. It doesn't always want to do that. Um, but for broad, for general descriptions and for especially for reading, Metas have gotten pretty good. They've gotten better. So we're going to wrap it up there. I hope this video was helpful for you, gives you some more information, and you can kind of decide on whether you want to maybe check out these Solos glasses, or I may do a full assistive technology or like a hardware review spotlight video. I'll cover a lot of the same things, but I kind of want to give them a little bit more time. I want to get a few more app updates, as they start rolling, because right now they're rolling them out to some of the pre-order folks. But once they're more available for everybody, I may do a follow-up video on these as they improve. But right now, like I said, I have mixed feelings on them. They have a lot of potential, but I'm not really feeling them. I'm not really feeling them right now, to be perfectly honest with you. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. Blue Sky at Illegally Cited, illegallicited.com, and of course right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.